Thank you very much, and rest assured, I'm the last one you're going to hear before you can go to the desserts and the drinks. But I just wanted to take a few minutes together with you, first of all, to express as chair of the Stewardship Asia Center, once again, my congratulations to the 25 projects that were selected. I know that there were many more that were actually very good, and the jury had a very difficult task on limiting it to 25 projects, but yeah, that's now the brand of the whole exercise, SL25, so we have to live up to that restriction, right? But once again, my heartfelt congratulations. It's great that you do these projects and that you give the world hope, as you expressed in your speech. Summarizing what we did today is practically impossible. There were so many great ideas, but I have a sort of a habit of writing down a few things that struck with me, and I'll share them with you in the next 3 minutes. We started this day with actually 2 excellent master classes, one from the practice and one from the academia, 2 master classes about an optimistic view of growth. And I think that was very important because in the context of ESG, in the context of stewardship, there is sometimes that question lingering in the back of, but will this be a limit to growth? Professor Meyer reminded me of what happened in the early 70s when we read that very dark prediction of limits to growth. I still remember there was a student that was almost compulsory reading for us as engineers, and I'm happy that it actually didn't materialize what they predicted there. But there is this point that perhaps when we talk about ESG, when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about stewardship, that perhaps this is about limits to growth. And I actually found that the day started with 2 very optimistic insights about the role of growth, the potential of growth, be it Dylan with his comments about building resilient growth and pointing out that we actually, yes, have a risk-reward trade-off from time to time, but we need to actually add to that resilience, impact. What is it that we do with our investments? What does it do with our activities? How do we create positive impact and create resilience for the organizations and for society? I also thank Professor Meyer for the fact that he illustrated and sort of empirically underbuilt or gave a foundation to something that most of us here in Singapore probably strongly believe in, and that is that institutions help in building a country, in sustaining growth. But it was great to see this illustrated with so many empirical evidence, and it gives us sort of a good base to start from to share that message with others. Other points that I actually also said that I came out of these 2 master classes as a bit of an optimist. Dylan actually pointed it out that we've gone through other dire periods, that in the 60s and the 70s, this was not the greatest place on earth here in Southeast Asia. I have to say that myself, I was doing my national service in the 70s, and we were indoctrinated with the fact that the tanks from the other side were only 10 hours away from Brussels. So we lived in a very different environment, and I do agree with what Dylan said at the end, that actually the last 30 years have been great, that perhaps now, as also you pointed out, we are in a difficult time, but perhaps the light at the end of the tunnel is not that of an oncoming train, but is actually the light of hope and well-being. A few other things that I actually picked up today when it comes to sustainability, to stewardship, to steward leadership, is Don't count too much on metrics. Dylan said it. It's very often about the quality of what you're doing. Rajiv was perhaps going a bit far by saying we only measure the things we do and then manipulate. He didn't use that word, but it was almost sounding like we manipulate then the metrics to make them reflect what we like. I wouldn't go that far. I still see, as a rather quantitative teacher, the value of metrics, but I do believe that they have to be complemented with a number of perceptions, measurements, insights in the more qualitative parts of what we are doing. Another point that I picked up is the relevance of people, the relevance of culture, and it came very strongly through when we heard the story about PepsiCo, but also this morning in the panel, the emphasis was very much on the role of people in making stewardship happening. I also thought that throughout the day we heard a lot about storytelling. And maybe that goes back to the non-metrical or non-metrics, the non-quantitative approach, that it is important when we want to make progress when it comes to stewardship, that we need to actually have a good story and be able to tell it. And actually we got a few good storytellers today here on the stage. But I also remember that this morning it was said, don't let your story get stale. Renew your story. We need to update our story. And I thought that that was a strong message that came through several of the discussions and presentations. Also, obviously, I think we have gone beyond the trade-off between the commercial success and sustainability. The message was very strongly, make sustainability part of the DNA of your value proposition. Fuse sustainability with your value proposition, and then you will be a lot more successful. And then, of course, Rajiv had in his interaction this strong call to be a steward leader. I hope that many of you here in the room and the ones that already have left us will actually take on that challenge, will read the book. That's the homework. You know that, right? It's your homework that you have to go home with. Read the book and actually follow the advice in the book on how to become a steward leader. And I would take the Pareto comment that Rajiv made in a slightly different way. He argued that we only need to have 20% of the leaders to become steward leaders. I would argue we may need more steward leaders, but we don't have to be perfect. Maybe if we are ready for 30 or 40% of what we're doing, steward leaders, then perhaps the rest of what we're doing will actually benefit from it. So don't try to strive for perfection, but strive to be at least partially to be a steward leader. Walk the talk is another message that was very clear. As Dylan started with this morning, the CEO has to be the chief sustainability officer. So these were a few random points that I picked up. You definitely picked up a few other ones, but I hope that you will go home with a few good ideas and that actually you will be able to implement them. I will then finally finish with a few thanks. First of all, thanks to the team that organized this, and then I not only think about the theme of the Stewardship Asia Center, but also everybody that was helping us here in this room, the AV team, the audiovisual team, all the photographers, the hotel, etc. Everybody who tries to make this a successful summit. Secondly, I want to put on record my thanks to Temasek and the Temasek Trust, who had the vision a number of years ago to actually set aside the resources to create the Stewardship Asia Center, and said it is important for companies here in Singapore, but actually not only in Singapore, but in Southeast Asia, in East Asia, in South Asia, throughout the world, but we're not there yet, but that we actually promote the idea of stewardship. I think when Temasek and Temasek Trust started with this idea, that they were really ahead of the curve and that they were very visionary about the role that stewardship could play. So my second thanks go as chairman of the board, go to the vision that was, or I allowed the vision of Temasek, and I thank them for the support they have been giving to us. And then thirdly, I thank you here in the room, all the SL25 winners, let me put it that way, right? But also many other people here still in the room. I thank you for being here, but I thank you for being our partners. Because we are a very small organization at Stewardship Asia Center. We can't do it alone. We need partners to do our research, to spread the message, to come to our programs, to recommend our programs to others. We need you as partners. And I hope that through what you've witnessed today and through your collaboration with Stewardship Asia Center, that you will be convinced that we are on the right path and that you actually can help us and that we can help you. It's all about building strong ecosystems of people that work together with each other. Dylan said it this morning, it was all about partnerships. It was one of his 4 points that he made about what resilient growth would require. We need to build those ecosystems of partners that work together to promote the idea of stewardship, to promote the idea of becoming a steward leader, and I hope that we will actually be able to be very successful with those partnerships. As we all know, 1 + 1 is always 3. With that, I thank you once again, and I think that the MC will tell you where the goods are, where you will find the desserts.